I always wanted to play a game that mixes the movement of Monster Hunter Rise, the monster collecting mechanics of Pokemon and Digimon, the quick and punishing action a Souls-like game has to offer, an open-world vibe like Breath of the Wild, and the musical theming of Tales of the Abyss, with a dash of the noise from The World Ends With You. From pulling mommies to zaddies, and what the hell is that? Wuthering Waves has so much to offer.
You are. Besides, not seeing the opponent heightens the thrill of the game.
Do you want to be the rule-setting shepherd or the rule-breaking black lab? Now, Rover, the story is yours to spin.
Wuthering Waves is an open-world role-playing gacha game developed by Kuro Games and released on Android, iOS, and PC via the Epic Game Store on May 22, 2024. The game story revolves around the Rover. Spoilers for the story, so you can skip to this timestamp here if you don't want to get spoiled on the first chapter of Wuthering Waves. The Rover wakes up from her sleep unable to remember anything. Set in a post-apocalyptic and futuristic world, the Rover must now explore and rediscover who they are and face off with forces who want nothing but the destruction of the world. An event called the Lament wiped off most of humanity from the face of the Earth, or what the game wants to call it, Sol 3 or Solaris 3. Upon the awakening of the Rover, things are set into place where an organization called the Fraxidus wants to recreate the Lament, and accelerate the process, calling it the True Lament, in which the Fraxidus wants to summon Threnodians, beings with the power to consume humans through emotional distress, mental instability, fears, and internal turmoil, and use those feelings in creating monsters that populate the open world, called Tacit Discords. No, not Discord where you hear your friends talk weird shit to each other, but these Discords, or TD for short. The Rover, upon awakening, meets up with members of the Midnight Rangers, Yang Yang and Chisha. Chisha, aka Amber with Guns, then tells you the Rover may be a Resonator as they have tacit marks on their hands. Resonators have different capabilities and each have their own unique tacit mark. After a brief introduction, the unlikely trio then make their way towards their ally, Baizhi. However, they are met with TDs. The Rover then easily dispatches them and experiences the vision of a dragon, the sentinel of Jinzhou, Jue. Yang Yang then explains that only the magistrate of Jinzhou can commune with Jue. However, she senses something different in the Rover. The team finally catches up with Baizhi, but the Rover and Yang Yang get separated from the team and are faced with a powerful TD, the Crownless. The Rover goes toe-to-toe with this creature and defeats it and even shocks the party. After defeating the Crownless, its echo is absorbed by the Rover, and after a quick discussion if the Rover is some sort of super ancient grandma, or if the Rover is a hero that had the power to reshape the world and mysteriously disappeared, the team then gets a message from Jinshi, the magistrate of Jinzhou, explaining that there is an upcoming festival and that the person that the magistrate of Jinzhou has been waiting for has arrived. What I totally find weird in the story is that it seems like the Rover's awakening was something everyone has been anticipating, that the Rover was predestined to wake up at that exact time. After the announcement, the team makes its way to Jinzhou. The Rover gets a tour of the city by Chisha and has to go into the Grand Library and talk with the Lady Magistrate's right hand, Sanhua, who explained that Jinxi is currently away from Jinzhou and has left some tokens and a welcome gift for the Rover. The Rover investigates what's going on with the tokens and gets sent out to help the Midnight Rangers rear guard. Along the way, you meet the monk Janshin. Janshin tries to go out of the city, however is told by the guard that she cannot leave, and she asks if she can join you as she's looking for someone from her village who joined the rear guard. The Rover agrees and you make your way towards the base. Upon reaching it, you get tasked with fixing a detection beacon. You see a few people who are tinkering with the beacon and say they're scrapping it for food and money, but surprise, they're pretending to be vagrants and try to rob you and the party, not knowing that you're the super ancient grandma or grandpa with godlike fighting skills. You then make it back to the base and help tend to the wounded soldiers. You check back with John Shin and ask her how her thing went and find out that she beat the shit out of a stubborn person. Yang Yang then asks you what's your decision about working with the Midnight Rangers, but before the Rover can answer, you're shown a vision a la That's Like Raven of General Ji-Yan, and my god, the animation is glorious. Every moment Ji-Yan is included, Kuro Games definitely made sure to make Ji-Yan look awesome. In your vision, you see Ji-Yan take on a horde of TDs and lead his men into battle. You get to play as Ji-Yan in a quick section, giving you a taste of how his mechanics work, and I must say, for a first banner 5-star unit, Ji-Yan does not disappoint. The dragon that swirls around Ji-Yan is wild. After the vision, Yang Yang and the rover head over to Chiche village. Yang Yang then explains that she is feeling a disturbance in the force frequencies in that area. You then do a quick investigation, clear tacit field, and try to uncover the story about the strange TD who is asking for its brother. And according to Yang Yang, whatever happened to the village wasn't too long ago. Then in comes Mr. Onigirushi himself, Scar. Scar has you looking for clues around the village and hints out that he knows a lot about what happened in the village. I'm not gonna go into full detail, but the gist of it is that the people of the village were tricked by a greedy wish-making shepherd who popped up in the village and ostracized the one black sheep or lamb who didn't agree with what this wishmaker had in mind. The people of the village were tricked by this wolf in sheep's clothing and continued to sacrifice members of the village, one by one, until there was infighting and then until there was nothing left. After all that sleuthing, Scar kidnaps Yang Yang and I have to chase him through his domain and fight him once you reach the end. The boss fight with Scar is rather easy and ends after you deplete his HP bar, and Yang Yang breaks you out of the illusion or domain he has you in. Scar then retreats when Prolova steps in. Prolova has to be one of the coolest designs I've seen in a while, with her having a spider lily on her dress. You know what they say about spider lilies in anime? There's gonna be a tragedy waiting to happen. You then head back to Jinzhou and find Chisha to solve the puzzle left to you by Jinshi, and go to the library to lure the Fractidus to you. You have to solve a puzzle that requires you to lower the water in the room, and once you reach the bottom and find your objective and try to collect the information from the database, which potentially might have some information on the rover's past, Scar then shows up, and this leads to a short scuffle between Jinshi, Sanhua, and Scar. The animation here is great, it's fluid, plus Scar does a great job delivering his lines. The rover though sounds a bit flat, but I guess it might be due to the direction, but damn, it does sound flat as hell.
What a magnificent place to set foot in. Extensive, exhaustive. Oh, how I want to carve the place inside out and blow it all to shreds. Thought you'd seem a bit more surprised. I wonder why. So you've laid a trap for me. Interesting. Do you really think you can trap me here?
You will not escape.
What a shame I can't stay and play with you a bit longer. Till we meet again, dear friends.
You're not going anywhere.
The fight with Scar here is wild. Scar transforming into a very macabre looking monster is absolutely fire. He even has a special animation when he catches you. It really gives off JRPG boss vibes for real. After defeating Scar, you then get to another exposition dump about your past and what's going on. You learn about the Lament, and Scar wants you to join their cause and bring upon the destruction of the world with them. Scar then breaks it to you that one day, one way or another, they'll have you join their side. He then gets taken to jail. After getting more information from Jinshi on whose side you're supposed to be and who's allied with you, Scar also made the remark that everyone wants a piece of the rover's power for their own benefit, making me believe that there's gonna be some weird twist in the stories to come. Jinshi then takes another leap to find Jue. It seems like the Sentinel has decided that its constituents must now fend for themselves and make a path of their own, and not rely on its prophecies and predictions. You are then given a Blake Bloom, a black-colored flower that signifies you're allied with a group called the Black Shores. The Black Shores are the ones who've installed the resonance beacons all over Sol 3 to monitor the Lament and its effects. You then try to meet with Verena if she can identify the Blake Bloom for you, however she is unable to, but says that she can create a similar looking flower so you can lure out the people stalking you. One of them is Camilla. Camilla is a member of the Black Shore, based on the Blake Bloom on her head, and she's giving off chaotic neutral energy, where she says that she doesn't care if the world ends, but she's bound by her job and has to protect the rover. Another bunch of people following you around were Alto and Encore, who are also members of the Black Shore. Alto is an information broker and is also quite the showman, while Encore is just adorable. She does go in and out of an accent at times, but still, Encore is adorable. Alto and Encore turn to you in searching for clues on why a certain group called the CSC, or the Court of Savante Committee, just mysteriously disappeared. You then find out that the CSC were obsessed with some sort of ancient civilization deemed divine entities. This group from the CSC wanted to recreate the phenomenon called the retroact rain. However, when their efforts failed, they tried creating a replica of this ancient civilization, which went rogue with all of the data and frequencies they fed it, leading to the disappearance of the CSC members. You then find the abomination and defeat it. When the party meets up with Alto at the entrance of the facility, the party is then met with the retroact rain, prompted by Encore that when it rains like that, they should hide. Now we get to the meaty part of the story. This is the chapter's climax, and I must say, Kuro did a great job in creating hype for the final part of the chapter. You're now in control of Gian and his remaining 500 men who must defend their base against TDs and are also under the effects of the retroact rain. There isn't really an explanation to what the rain is, but it seems to be conjuring phantoms of dead people and their memories, which TDs can use to create more TDs and lure victims with. The more the people are exposed to the rain, the stronger the illusions become. The remaining soldiers in Gian were given the antidote which stops the person from seeing milky white-colored phantoms. It seems, as mentioned earlier, people who see these phantoms potentially relive the moments that the phantoms experience, causing mental instability paired up with the dangers of the TD can lead to the victim's demise. Gian then sees a phantom of Geshu Lin. Geshu Lin was the former general of the Midnight Rangers. He was an infamous general due to the number of casualties under his command as he made the ultimate sacrifice in defeating Overthrax, the Trinodian of War. During the retroact reign, the stronger the emotional connection you have, the more intense these phantoms become. Geshu Lin tries to convince Gian that he must continue fighting no matter the consequences. We then get to see Prolova summoning waves of TDs attacking the base Gian is defending. After playing Gian's section of the story, we go back to Jinzhou and defend the city from the TDs attacking it. We then get to see the warriors of Jinzhou do superhero landings and, who is this guy? I don't remember seeing him or talking to him in the entire story, so, that's weird. After defending Jinzhou, the Rover and Yang Yang must then make their way to Jian and help stop the Trinodian. We then get to play Jian again, defending their base from the waves of enemies incoming. You see where I'm getting at. It's a lot of combat, and you should totally play this part yourself so you can enjoy it. Jian then gets a message from Taoshi telling him that the Rover and Yang Yang are on their way and briefs him about the situation. Midway to the base, the Rover and Yang Yang then get to fight the Thundering Mephis, an elite class TD, but before you fully face off with it, Jian then arrives to help you with the fight. Upon reaching the base, you meet up with John Shin, who helped escort the supply team. Jian then asks the Rover on what they should do to stop the Trinodian. In my head, I don't understand how the general is asking us, a person who woke up 3 days ago, to form a battle plan. I understand it's the prophecy and that the Rover is someone important, but trusting your soldier's life away to someone who you just met kind of seems off to me. Nevertheless, the team creates a battle plan and launches an assault towards the Trinodian. The team then make their way towards a cannon called the Disruptor and defend it while it's recharging. After successfully protecting the cannon, Jian Xin decides to stay behind and hold the line so that Jian, Yang Yang, and Rover can go further. The next area you go through is a great mix of traversing gimmicks, using your grapple to move platforms around, and debris to clear your path. The story here feels very cinematic, as the further the team goes, the more enemies show up, and upon nearing the portal called the Warblade from above, Yang Yang says that she has to stay back and hold the line. She says that she'll be a burden, that the Rover and Jian are on a different level as her, and should face the Trinodian. Once you decide to go through the portal, it's the point of no return. Jian and the Rover face off with the Crownless. I totally love this because it's a great callback in closing the chapter. The first boss type enemy you defeat is also the penultimate boss of the chapter. After defeating the Crownless, you see a more sinister TD come out. This boss fight is a lot harder as this TD hits like a truck, and after exchanging a couple of blows, the Rover then gets a new power, the Power of Havoc, and uses it against the TD, which is now named the Dreamless. I'm not gonna lie though, this power is wild. Seeing the Rover use a scythe and have one black wing is absolutely crazy. It is absolutely cool and the whole fight is very good. You fight alone as the Rover, and then when things start to look bleak, Jian then comes in to join the fight. You then defeat the Dreamless, however, it won't go down without a fight and shoots a final beam aimed right at Jian. The Rover then intercepts and tries to deflect the beam, however, in a very shocking moment, a creature pops out of her tacit mark. Not gonna lie, it looks like it's ready to recruit magical girls, and we gotta burn this thing with fire right after. The creature absorbs the beam and asks for more food before disappearing. During that beam absorption moment, the Dreamless flees and the moon it protects collapses in the most cinematic moment in the game. You can see everyone looking tired from fighting, and then the TDs disappear. A wounded Gian and Rover come out from the ruins, and everybody celebrates the defeat of the Trinodian. For a rocky start and exposition-heavy story, the end chapter combat and cinematic delivery kind of makes up for it. However, compared to Honkai Star Rail's first chapter, Wuthering Waves has it rough and dumps a lot of information on the player, making them feel like so many things are happening, and it's very overwhelming. One thing that kind of irks me is how the leader of the city, Jinzi, goes on her quest, leaving everything to her people and the rover. Even Ningguang from Genshin Impact had to defend Liyue from Osayo. To be honest, another moment that was weird for me was when that furry thing came out. I understand that it was foreshadowed early in the story, however, it seemed like a literal Deus Ex Machina moment for it to show up and absorb the blast. Nonetheless, the final chapter was amazing and I enjoyed the combat.
Under starlit skies we battled, divine rune roaring above. Now victorious, our songs of triumph shall shake the clouds. And our story goes on.
Now that we got the story out of the way, let's discuss the mechanics and interesting things I found in Wuthering Waves. In classic gacha game fashion, you get to choose if you're playing a boy or a girl. I bet Professor Oak would be confused if he found a rover, but what do I know? I'm not Professor Oak. So, as a cultured person myself, I chose the female rover. Her design looks better compared to the bland male rover outfit. Character design-wise, I love the mix of the modern and archaic fashion in some of the characters. Tauchi is a great example of this. Kolcharo is giving us Sephiroth vibes, and I love how that comes across to almost every player who sees him. In terms of combat, my god, it is so fun. Seeing a parry timer or parry frame is just wonderful. As someone who can't really time it right, these visual cues are a lifesaver. The perfect dodge and counter mechanic is also awesome as well, as some characters have built-in mechanics that revolve around countering, and these can deal big damage when successfully done. You still have your generic basic attacks and combo strings. However, this time some characters have mid-air attacks. Almost every character has a heavy plunge attack as well. I totally enjoy the mechanics that were introduced in this game, such as the Forte circuit, where it can modify the character's heavy attacks or skills to giving the character's forms or modes. Intro skills are also amazing, and I appreciate that this was thought of by the developers, as in other games you just swap characters in and use your ult and then swap them out again. And speaking of swapping out, to activate intro skills, you'll have to fill a bar called your Concerto meter, and then swap in once it's full. You'll then see when it's available because your character will have a white aura floating around their portrait. If not, they just swap in and do a regular attack. Outro skills are also there. For real though, having a character leave the field then heal before they leave or buff your teammates or do extra damage is amazing. This also hinges on the Concerto energy when you swap out. Team building can hinge on these mechanics, and you'd have a fun time just doing your combos and swapping in and out for some major damage and utilizing your 40 circuit. Having your team limited to 3 characters also has you thinking of what the composition should be. Do you want one main DPS and a sub DPS, or one shielder and one healer? It would really depend on the player preference, to be honest. Team building is going to be fun in Wuthering Waves. You don't really need to go into domains to farm for your equipment. Instead, the developers mixed it up by having enemies become your armor pieces. You have to defeat enemies and record their echoes. Think of it like catching Pokemon. Once you record the echo, you can then equip them on your units. The game allows you to level up these echoes. I totally suggest that you level up your echoes once they are 5 stars, so that you can maximize benefits you get from leveling the echoes up. Plus, you can tune them to see what bonus stats you can get. The skill tree for Wuthering Waves looks fairly simple, and all you have to do is just level up the skills depending on what you want to do with the characters. Simply just go into the respective domains and get the materials required. Another thing I like about the equipment system is that you can reroll the lower level echoes you have. Having it as an in-menu feature instead of trying to find an NPC to reroll is a lot more convenient, and you can reroll on the fly. Something that doesn't work for me though is that you can't use the unleveled echoes as materials to level up your other echoes in your inventory. This actually forces players to explore the map and defeat enemies and unlock title heritages that offer Echo XP material. Oh yeah, did I mention Pokemon? You can summon these echoes and have them aid you in battle. You can transform into one of these and do a lot of damage, or just have them fight for you without interrupting your combat flow. Some pick up items for you to use and some heal or shield you. There are shiny enemies in the overworld too, and you can catch those. They don't really affect the stats, however, you can equip them as skins on the Echo you have in your inventory, just like shiny Pokemon. Also, you can turn into Monkey. Return to Monkey. The weapon system is fine. Similar to other open world gacha games, you can find low level equipment nearly everywhere, and in chests you see. They don't really offer much XP, but hey, it's better than nothing. Leveling up your weapons feels standard. All you have to do is pray you don't get death % on a character that doesn't scale with it. You can still craft your 4-star weapons if you're doing a free-to-play account, so you don't need to get those signature 5-star weapons. However, they do have major differences in stats. The gacha system is okay in my opinion. 80 pity and a guaranteed 5-star sounds normal. If you're a free-to-play player like me, hitting this 80 pity might be a challenge. What I like about the launch of Wuthering Waves is that the devs weren't afraid of letting players get a lot of freebies. From the beginner banner where you can get a guaranteed 5-star at 50 pulls to another beginner banner where they let you choose the preferred 5-star you want at 80 pulls guaranteed. To apologize for the rough start, players also get a free 5-star of their choice, giving players at least 3 free 5-star units. If you're lucky, you can even snag the event 5-star banner and this weapon. Also, did I mention that there's a 5-star weapon selector when you reach Union level 45? Kuro outdone themselves with trying to win their players' attention and having them grind up to that level, be it free to play or by whaling. Movement in the game is fine. You can run around, climb up and down walls, parkour, and use a grappling hook to help increase jump height. Instead of trying to find certain items in the overworld to increase your stamina, all you have to do now is catch echoes and increase the level of your data bank. This also incentivizes the players to collect more echoes while increasing their stamina. Talk about killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Also, please make sure to defeat the boss called Inferno Rider, as this boss provides you a movement echo and you can traverse the world in a motorbike. The game doesn't play around with its references too. There's a line that potentially references One Piece. The Inferno Rider looks like the evil one, but make it look red and have it drive a motorcycle. The Chinese references are also awesome. You see the 4 auspicious beasts on a compass while trying to solve a puzzle. There's even the door from Suzume. Difficulty-wise, the game is okay. It's not too hard, and it's near easy at this point of the game as I'm reviewing. The bosses you fight in the overworld for Ascension materials are quite easy to deal with, however, you get powered-up version of these bosses in holographic shrines. They deal a whole lot more damage, however, if you've already mastered these bosses' patterns, then you can actually just play it by ear and dodge your way to victory. Normal mobs also have versions of them on steroids. I challenged myself in defeating the level 120 Spearback King with a level 40 team, and it felt absolutely worth it, as you can get an early 5-star echo this way. I mentioned the door from Suzume, and that door is basically this game's version of the simulated universe from Honkai Star Rail. You have difficulty levels, however, this time there's a twist. You have a handful of selected characters you can play as in these domains, which forces players to build all the other characters in their roster, instead of just relying on their 5 stars, and for the ones without the 5 stars, you'd have to use the 4-star units in your roster as well. They also have trial units, so it gives you a chance to try out Gion or some units you haven't built in the domains. We've glazed the game a lot for some of its mechanics and features, but let's talk about something that really bothers me the most: the story. Yes, it had a great moment in the final act of Chapter 1, however, that doesn't really make sense to me that everyone is the Rover Glazer. Everyone talks about how great the Rover is at cooking, fighting, and even using the resonance powers. Jian entrusts his men's lives over to the Rover in doing the battle plan. Jinzi entrusts almost the future of the entire region to the Rover. Remember the Deus Ex Machina moment at the end? That felt really anticlimactic, even though it was foreshadowed at the start. Let's not forget Yonbu, just popping out of nowhere during the Avenger moment where everybody protects Jinzhou. The story is intriguing because a lot of characters have been introduced, however they haven't been elaborated on yet, which keeps me on wanting to know what's gonna happen in the next few chapters. Another thing is the dialogue. Sometimes the dialogue gets weird when characters pop in and out of an accent like Encore, or the cast misgendering the Rover. Scar does a great job in delivering his lines, but characters like Yang Yang and Rover give me a hard time feeling hype. Yang Yang is too nonchalant. Same goes for the Rover. In hype moments, you don't hear them scream or feel any power in their voice at least. There's issues with the text and translations as well. Some lines don't really make sense with their translation, and when doing quests, stealing all the tops and the bottoms from the exiles, they're not having fun anytime. jokes aside, seeing the summon Sanwa say Duman Sanwa is really off-putting, or the vase doesn't bulge. Like, what do you mean the vase doesn't bulge? It's a vase. The game has just been released, and I'm pretty sure Kuro Games will have this patched out. Wuthering Waves has had a rough start and dumps you with tons of exposition. Based on things I've read, the story was changed from the last closed beta test due to backlash. Wuthering Waves is still in its infancy though, and so far in my honest opinion, I'd recommend this game if they decide to streamline the story in early chapters to avoid exposition dumps and to not overwhelm tons of players. A lot of domains open when you reach a certain union level, and that overloads the players with things to do. With only 240 wave plates or 240 energy in general terms, there's only so much you can do when Ascension materials cost 60 to redeem and cost the same as the weekly bosses. I understand this is due to the lack of grinding for the gear, however this also slows down player progression for those who do not have battle passes or even the energy refill item. As of the moment, I'm nearly Union level 34, and all I'll be doing now is grind my dailies, do the new event, and maybe find the normal mobs on steroids as a fun challenge to myself. Wuthering Waves is a fun game if you enjoy fast-paced combat, open-world adventuring, and basically the challenge of collecting all the waifus and husbandos. Did Wuthering Waves make an impact? Yes, and it made sure that the combat stood out along with some of its mechanics. The story has intriguing characters and plot points that I want to learn more about, but it'll probably take 6 months to a year to release a new chapter of the story, unless the devs already planned for the second chapter ahead of time. One thing is for sure, I'll be playing Wuthering Waves to get my daily rewards, collect Ascension materials, and do the weekly rotations if they decide to do that. If anything, a weekly reset on the elusive realm would be a great way to keep players engaged while waiting for the story. Do you think Wuthering Waves is gonna stay afloat? Did it crash, or has the gameplay taken you over and made you feel wavy, baby? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you made it this far, I appreciate you and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content, leave a like and a comment and maybe even subscribe. I'm planning to hit 500 subs within the year, and I hope I can get your support. This has been your boy AndroidPAW, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.